For centuries, knowledge has been hidden in plain sight across the sands of time. Whispers of lost civilizations, cryptic symbols, and forbidden histories have been erased or concealed. What if the truth was never lost, but hidden? Welcome to Eye of Ancient Mysteries, where the past speaks and the future listens. Sit back, open your mind, and prepare to uncover the untold secrets of our world. Let the journey begin now. 7 ghostly places that look like sci movie sets. Our highly industrialized world has created vast labyrinths of steel, concrete, and trash. Lots of trash. When the tide of humanity shifts direction, the things that were once of utmost importance are left to rot back into nature. But when you stumble upon these worlds of rust and tetanus, it feels like you've leapt into a strange new era, where the future is the past, and the past is ancient history. Since we're starting to confuse ourselves, here's a list of 7 futuristic abandoned places. 1. The Yugoslav monuments. When you spot something like this in the distance, you know you've either passed through a stargate into a faraway world, or a time machine has dropped you off on a post-apocalyptic Earth. Or maybe it is the time machine, or just a monument. Yugoslavs honored and idolized WWI victims with these kinds of structures, which led to the creation of thousands of bizarre monuments across former Yugoslavia. The only rule: make them as strange as possible. The Yugoslav dream came to an end in the early 90s, when the country itself collapsed. Many of the monuments were destroyed, but a number still stand abandoned across the Balkans, lost in time. 2. Energomash, Moscow. Just look at this. It's clearly the core of the Death Star. Any minute now, the Millennium Falcon is going to swoop by and trigger a ridiculously over-the-top explosion while Ewoks celebrate. Actually, this photo was taken recently. In our galaxy, mountains of industrial waste left behind by the former Soviet Union have birthed a subculture of urban explorers, thanks to a Russian law that says entering an unlocked or broken down facility isn't considered trespassing. Hundreds of Russians now roam through rusted Soviet ruins in search of adventure or discarded porn. Leading this movement is Lana Sater, who documents her journeys on LiveJournal. These photos come from Sater and her friends sneaking into the Energomash state station near Moscow. It might sound like a bad energy drink, but it was actually a rocket testing facility. Big rockets. 3. Buzluja, Bulgaria. This definitely looks like a remote imperial base on the planet Hoth. But wait, weren't the rebels the ones with a base there? And that huge star-shaped emblem? That wasn't in the movie. You might recognize this massive structure as the Buzluja Monument near Shipka. It hasn't always looked so run down and snow-covered, but even in its prime it felt like something straight out of a retro sci-fi film. The monument was built to commemorate a secret 1891 meeting where Bulgarian socialists gathered to form a political party. Decades later, after WBI placed Eastern Europe in Stalin's hands, Bulgaria's Communist Party marked the occasion by building a giant concrete flying saucer on a mountaintop in the middle of nowhere. Only 10 years after its opening in 1981, The Iron Curtain fell, along with Bulgaria's communist regime. The monument was abandoned, and Bulgarians have since shown exactly how much they care about socialist ideals. 4. Soviet superplanes. Russia, the Soviet Union, full of communism nukes and crashed spaceships. How else do you explain this thing? Clearly it ended up here after 2 of its 8 hyperdrives failed en route to Ursa Major, forcing it to crash land on Earth. This is what the Roswell incident would have looked like if it happened in Russia, with working-class aliens who were really into engines. These are the remains of the monstrous Lun class Equinoplan, designed to skim the surface of the water while crushing anything in its path. It weighed 380 tons, had a wingspan of 45 meters, and carried 6 anti-ship missiles. But war machines weren't the only things transformed into sci-fi dreams in the Soviet Union. Even public transport looked like it belonged on an intergalactic route. The meteor hydrofoil, for instance, seemed ripped from a Buck Rogers comic and now lies abandoned in the forest, rusting away. 5. Hartsville Nuclear Plant, Tennessee. In video games, when you see a giant hole with 8 perfectly symmetrical paths leading into it and green goo everywhere, it's never good news. Either you're being sent in to investigate, or a giant alien boss is about to burst out. Welcome to one of the few abandoned nuclear power plants on Earth. Hartsville in Tennessee. Billions were spent on its construction, only for funding to dry up before it could even be activated. Today, the cooling tower stands silent, calling out to thrill seekers to explore it or climb it like Spider-Man. Since the reactor was never turned on, you can explore without worrying about growing extra limbs or eyeballs. 6. Pyestock, England. This view can mean only one thing. This hole is about to fire a planet, destroying Death Ray, and only you can stop it. If you're standing this close, you've probably already defeated the villain and delivered your cheesy one-liner. Now all that's left is to cut the right wire and upload the virus before everyone turns into neon mist. What you're looking at is actually Test Cell 3, a rocket engine testing chamber at Pyestock, built by the British in 1949 and abandoned in 2000. This secret facility could have been Q's workplace, if Q was obsessed with massive pipes and sci-fi horror. Even Hollywood noticed Pyestock's cinematic potential. A sleek, futuristic door built near Test Cell 3 was featured in the film Sahara. 7. Teufelsberg Listening Station, Germany. This building has its roots in WWI, when the Battle of Berlin leveled much of the city. Something had to be done with all the rubble before rebuilding could begin, so the Allies decided to bury a former Nazi technical college under a mountain of debris. Once the rubble was piled high enough, they named it Teufelsberg, Devil's Mountain, Berlin's highest point at 115 meters, made from 75 million cubic meters of stone, metal, and scrap. To top it off, as one final jab at the Nazis, the Allies built a massive listening station on top, constructed by the NSA during the Cold War. Teufelsberg was perfectly placed to eavesdrop on the Soviets. After the Cold War ended, Russian daily life became far less exciting, and the station was abandoned. What exactly went on there remains classified to this day.